on there. So I'm going to record this, and we can post it later for anyone that didn't get a chance. I don't think we're going to see anything, you know, any major revolution. And also, I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone because there's some background. So I'll mute everyone, and then we'll use the chat, and then occasionally I'll unmute some people to allow people to ask questions. So I just want to do a brief introduction. Project Guts. So I'm Paige Prescott again, one of the facilitators, also project manager, and I am working. So Project Guts started in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and that's where I am currently, and will be for a while because I love it here. And I'm wearing Project Guts T-shirt here to show my affiliation, and we use the turtle a lot. As you know, if you've started on SLNova, you know the turtle, and also for computer science, you know, education, the turtle is kind of a fun way to introduce computer science to people. So that's why we use it. We use the turtle logo anyway. And we started as an after-school organization, and have been working with middle school students in computer modeling since 2007 here in Santa Fe, and then broader in New Mexico, and then also reached out to other areas in the U.S. And when Code.org got started and was looking for, you know, some partners and people that had experience working with middle school doing computer science, they partnered with us in Project Guts. And so we are now partnered through Code.org as their computer science in science curriculum and professional development provider. And we've been doing that for the past 2 years. And many of us are going to meet in New Orleans because you might become new computer science in science facilitators, which is really exciting. So we wanted to squeeze this online course in. It's not a great time of year to do this, I know, because it's the end of the school year, but we're really trying to kind of accelerate the exposure to our program so that when those of us that are meeting in New Orleans can get, that you're not coming in just completely blank and have no idea. And for those of you that are not affiliated as a new computer science and science facilitator, we wanted to offer this. This is our second time offering this course. This was a little bit modified. But the timing for this is also because we wanted to partner with our colleague in Argentina. So there is simultaneously one going on with people in South America. And he just let us know that he has over 500 participants. 40% are from Argentina, and then the rest of the Spanish-speaking countries are represented there. So it's really kind of exciting to see that, you know, there's some cachet, not just in the U.S., but also globally. So that's a little bit of background. If you have questions, again, go ahead and use the chat area to ask questions if you're online, and then occasionally I'll unmute and see if anyone has anything to add. We were at introducing people, and I see Sue has joined us. Sue, will you wave? Sue is here. I'm going to unmute you, Sue, and let me find, yeah. And Sue can introduce herself. There she is.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm a Project Guts facilitator, and I will see some of you in New Orleans and be happy to meet others and help you online.
Yeah, and so there's also Melody Hageman, who will occasionally be either hosting a webinar, and you've probably gotten some responses from her. And then also there is Irene Lee in Massachusetts, and she'll be also kind of heading up things. She's our PI, our principal investigator for Project Guts. So let's see. So today was just really want to kind of welcome everyone, give a little bit of background like I did, and talk a little bit about SLNova. and then open it up to some questions, all right? So SLNova is the platform that we use. So our principal focus is to be offering this through a science class. And so in order to deliver science content, we use computer modeling and simulation as our primary kind of focus. One of the things that we feel very strongly is that, you know, there are all these great simulations like PhET. I don't know if any of you as science teachers have used PhET, P-H-E-T. They have these great simulations that you can have in like little sliders and inputs and things like that. But really our philosophy is to get under the hood and have kids code their own model, and that's a more powerful way for them to not only learn the science, but also to learn the skill of computer modeling and computer science. So we use the tool SLNova in order to do that because it allows us to do what's called agent-based modeling. And so you can have many interacting agents, and they can have certain behaviors, and it makes it easy to model things like ecosystems or the chemical reactions, things that have to do with earth science as well. So we feel it's a really strong tie in that way. SLNova is a program that came out of MIT, and it's still with MIT, and its primary focus is to get kids engaged in computer modeling and computer science. And it's housed right next door to Scratch, right? So they're strong colleagues, not next door, but they're, you know, Scratch does great work with the younger groups. Actually, it doesn't have to be younger, but they are more about the animation and sort of the media components, whereas we use SLNova has more of a gaming. Well, actually, Scratch can do gaming, but SLNova has some gaming aspects, but then also the science aspects, which is why we choose this platform to do our content on. And so hopefully you guys have kind of started to play around with SLNova, and I just want to kind of go over some things here. Sue, anytime you want to jump in, please do. Let's see. Oh, I can't unmute you. Oh, you muted yourself. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen right now.
I muted myself, but I'll jump in.
Okay. Well, jump in at any time so that, you know, I don't want to dominate the whole thing. But so what I want to do is go over SLNova. So this is me logged in as myself here, and this is the area that you would come to when you click on the word My Profile. And so not the little arrow here, but on the word My Profile, and you'll get this area. And you can create new projects here, and then you get these galleries that can form. You can create your own galleries. And I do recommend that you consider creating a gallery for each of the modules, like a Module 1 gallery, and that would be all the intro simulations and things like the flower turtle that you're going to make and the bumper turtle and things like that. And then also you're going to have a choice of Earth, Life, and Physical Science curriculum modules to choose. And what you'll do with that is you would have another gallery for that. You will notice, however, that so you have this public gallery, and you just end up with dozens of projects inside of it. And then the galleries are the way to actually to have those organized, all right? So, where else? I lost my mouse. Okay. So I wanted to go into create a new project and show you a few things. So we're always going to use the blank project, and for all of our purposes in our computer science and science curriculum. We just got a question asking how to delete a project. Well, that is it is, you cannot delete a project out of your gallery, your private gallery. However, you can delete galleries out of your, projects out of your galleries. So for instance, I can go into this one, I did a workshop, and I can click on that. So this is a gallery that I created and I populated with these items. And I can remove items from the gallery, I can edit settings, and so that would be like, is it private or public? And then also you could delete the entire gallery. So that's why I do recommend galleries as a way to organize your stuff, because the private gallery is always going to have everything in there, including all of your remixes. And that would be, so my private gallery here just has all these things that I've created over the time, and it's currently not, it doesn't have the function to organize them. It might change, you know, software and these platforms change all the time, but at this time, currently you cannot do that. So I created, let's see, created a project. Oh, I'm back here. So it was that untitled blank project. And a couple things I wanted to point out here. So it'll load. We do recommend, so I'm currently on Safari, and I realized, that wasn't the greatest idea, because currently this platform uses Flash that is transitioning out. So the best browser to use at this time is Chrome, because if you don't, because of the Flash. So I would recommend that all of your projects are done on Chrome. That is, by probably the summer, going to change because most browsers are no longer supporting Flash anymore. So they're moving it towards multiple platforms, so not just on laptops. It'll eventually be usable on tablets and iPads and things like that. So that's one point, is Chrome. And then this little gizmo down here is a speed slider to run your program. So actually I'm going to go back into my gallery and find something that is already has some code to it. And so it's going to load up. And I think I'm going to have some problems because I'm in Safari. Yeah, I wasn't thinking ahead. I was trying to do, I think I was going to jump over. So while I'm switching browsers, any questions, we can unmute and people can ask questions.
Is there a star? Clint had a question in the chat window. Is there a SLNova tutorial? Hi, Clint. How's your leg? No, unfortunately not. Only what you work through with the introductory videos and things in this program. There's not like NetLogo where they have an official tutorial in a models library or anything like that. I can't hear you, Paige.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I was responding to was saying that we like Project Guts has gone the furthest with documenting SLNova, and so the tutorials are really what you're going through now, in the sense that they are, Module 1 is considered a tutorial with the basics of setting up a basic program that we call Flower Turtle, and that is so we've kind of gone the furthest with that, with our platform. So I was going to, sorry, I didn't even think about the idea of the problem with the, okay. And I'm going to share my screen again, and we'll get looking at that. So here I am in Chrome, logged in, and things will load better. So what I wanted to do was to get to just show some basic model that I was working with recently. And so this is what we call a slider. You'll learn about those when you're working in the lesson 5 of epidemics. And what I wanted to point out was this this speed slider. Well, I guess so. I can make the program run faster by pushing it down. Sue always likened that to an like a car accelerator. When you push down, it goes faster. So this runs the code at a faster speed. It doesn't necessarily visually update, but it will run the forever loop faster. And then when you bring it up, you can slow it down. So that's one thing that I wanted to point out, because that's not always clear to people what that actually does. And so this is the spaceland area where the action is going to happen. And all of our projects start with a setup, a forever, and a score box, but you have to kind of add the code onto that. When you speed it up, does time adjust? Yes. So it goes through as ticks. So each time through the forever loop is a tick. And by using this speed adjuster at the bottom here, it will run through the code faster. And so that's why it doesn't always visually update, but the ticks will update. That's a good question. And that's as opposed to if you were to run in the code and, for instance, make your turtles move in a certain speed. Like, for instance, there's a forward 1 versus a forward 5. So they visually are going to move faster, but there's some differences between these numbers here, and they kind of jump in space. So it looks faster, but when it goes to the forever loop, or here, this is the forever code here. When it goes through that, it, oh, I just lost my train of thought. But so this is going to be one time through the loop, and it's going to be one tick. And if you use this speed slider that I indicated earlier, it's just going to accelerate through this faster. But it might not update the screen. So one thing, this is an edit widgets. You'll learn about this at various times, and you can create new widgets with this. We have a push button and a toggle button. So your setup is a push button. Your forever is a toggle. So a push button is kind of like a doorbell. It happens once. A toggle is like a light switch. It's on until you turn it off. You can create a data box, labels, and horizontal slider. the line graph. So those are the ones that we use in our curriculum, and you can add that widget after you name it. And that's how I created the, so I'll just do, that's how I created the evaporation rate one. Now, this score box shows up, but we're not using this score box. So I could just drag this over to the, when I'm in the Edit Widgets function, I can drag this and I can delete that when it hits the red area of the trash. And it will prompt me, do I want to do that? And I can say yes, or you can cancel it. This is also when you can move your widgets around. So it can, you know, if you wanted to clean up how these are, you can, you know, just kind of put them in different areas there. And so, and you, once you click Edit Widgets, you can't do the, you can't move them anymore. So also when I'm in Edit Widgets and I hit a new widget, and let's say I want a new horizontal slider, and I can add it. New widgets always end up in the upper left-hand corner, and this is when you want to move them out. Yeah. And again, you're going to get to this in lesson 5. Looking down here at the blocks area, the world is where the setup is going to be, and so this is anything that has to do with creating the space up above here. So what do you want it to look like? Where do you want these agents to be? That is going to be in the setup. And you typically want to do, every project is going to have a clear terrain and a delete everyone. And that's going to reset the spaceland back to a green square. And then you have the create, these are procedures here that you'll learn about. These procedures, so it's calling make earth, and that is this procedure right here, make earth. And so it'll do whatever inside of that procedure, and then it'll move on to the next one. So all code in SLNova is going from top down. Makes sense, right? And it will, so you want to be careful. This is a very typical thing. Kids will put delete everyone at the end, and then they'll, you know, so I have a delete everyone, and then they go to, I want to run the code, and they hit setup, and there's no agents there. There's just the stamp stuff, and they're like, where's my agent? Well, it's because they put the delete at the bottom. So you always want the delete either at the first or second block there. Let's see, what else would be of interest to look at? So our curriculum, currently, we don't use a lot of the everyone tab. But if you do, it's kind of procedures or traits that could be called by any of the breeds. And currently, we only have one breed, which is the default one, which is turtle. And when you're in this one, you can create a procedure that's specific for the turtles to run. And if you were to do another breed, and I'll show you how to do that, you can edit breed, you can create a new breed, add a breed, and I can call it, let's say, bird. And so now you're going to see some interesting stuff down below. That we now have a new tab. So we had the original default turtles, and now we have the birds. And then there's also something interesting that will happen with the, you can now choose between turtles or birds to create. And then they will, once they're created, they can use the procedures that are in this tab area, or the turtles can use the procedures that are in this tab area. You don't want to use like I created this groundwater movement. This is an example from our Earth Science Water as a Shared Resource module. And so this groundwater movement, you would not want this agent to use that procedure. All right. let's see. Oh, remix. I definitely encourage you to use remixing, which is found in the upper black bar. So once you have a model that's working and you want to add some other features to it, I would recommend that you remix it. And so when you remix it, you get a new URL number for it. And you'll notice that there is the new remix information here at the end of the title. And you're welcome, you can change that. I'll show you where that comes up in my gallery. So I already had my original was in my public gallery. That was my original one here. And now the remix is also a public one. And you can see it's time-stamped from what's happening on the East Coast because it's from MIT. So remixing, what's great about remixing is that it will keep the code that was in the old model and then allow you to play with and modify things, and you have that original one that was working. So you don't have to worry about breaking your model too much. You can always go back to the one that works. This is how you add collaborators if you wanted to. So you'd have to know what their username is, and then you can add them as a collaborator. And you'll notice that it refreshes and that the collaborators up here. This is a great thing for kids. We definitely encourage pair programming, and this way it's going to be in both of their galleries. It's not like a Google Doc, however. You cannot co-edit at the same time, but it does end up in the in each other's galleries, so you can continue working, you know, at home, or if one person is absent, you don't have to worry about having to be on their being able to log into their project or their profile. So those are some things that we wanted to talk about there. Oh, you know, there's a fun thing here. You can tilt the screen and get a 3D view. So if you click down, so your mouse is on Spaceland, and you, I put the wrong one. So I'm going to move Spaceland here. And it is just, the Alt. And you slide it down, and you can get a three-dimensional view. And you can see that so the water resource is actually made to be, it's meant to be a 2D view, but you can see that there is the ability to go on a horizontal and get a 3D view. I could make those agents bigger, and you would be able to see that. So let's make something fun in here. Make a bird, give it a shape. I can go down to trait, and I created one of them. I'm going to set my shape to a angelfish, and I'm going to set its size to be pretty big. I'm going to save and run code and see where that shows up. Oh. I don't recommend that you code on the fly. Because there's probably something in here that I'm not necessarily seeing, but let's see. All right, well, that's sort of a start to how it can be. Make it a little bigger, see if that's the problem. Yep, there it is. So it was there, I just didn't make the size big enough. And so there is that angelfish that's there in the middle, and these are the agents that are blue spheres. So you can play around with the 3D view. Again, it's the Alt command, and with the your mouse moving around, and you can reset your camera always with the button here, but then you can move the Alt. One thing that's to note is that the Chromebooks work really well with SLNova, except that they don't have an Alt key. Their keyboard isn't mapped in the same way. So if you're going to do a 3D view on a Chromebook, you have to use a block called Take Camera. So I could put that in there. And it has the view of the angelfish and what it would look like. Oh. So somebody was playing around with that. Okay, so that's it for like a show and tell. I mean, it was just very brief. You have a lot of great resources that are in the online course as well. You have access to myself and Sue and Melody and Irene to help with other things. Any particular questions that are specific to you. And so you, what you want to do is post to our forum in technical difficulties, and we will get back to you within a couple hours. We'll try. We're monitoring everything every day. I do recommend that you make your project all in the public gallery, and the way you would do that is, so let's say I'm in my private gallery here with this new project. So the default is private, and it says add my gallery, so I click on that, and you would want to select your public gallery, so make sure it's blue highlighted, then hit submit. It's going to refresh, and you're going to see two new things here. One is that you have it in both the private and public gallery, and then you also, this is how you can add collaborators. And the reason why I suggest that you put your project into your public gallery is, let's say you're having a particular issue with your model, like let's say bumper turtles in lesson 3 or the colliding turtles in lesson 4, then you can, once it's in the public gallery, you can copy this URL, post it into our technical difficulties forum, and we'd be able to help debug that problem so that we can see, because putting a lot of the issues in Word is great, but if we can see the project, that's going to help us help you. So any other questions that we have? I will go ahead and unmute, or if people want to put into the chat any questions, let me know. No? So is everyone on track? Are you going to, we're currently in week 1, and that's the intro. This is the heavy lifting of getting to know SLNova. Do you feel like you're on track with this and able to keep up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some catching up to do.
I felt like the reflections took a lot longer than 2 hours.
So what did? Oh, the intro? Oh, foundation.
Yeah.
All the reflections.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we make up that time when you get to teaching module. So the next week is teaching module 1, and that's really just an opportunity to catch up and think about how you as an educator would bring it to your students. And so that's why we have you create the portfolio, is to create a repository of these things. So let's say you don't know how to get back to the online course, but through your Gmail, you'd be able to get to your portfolio. And then it's also a verification for us to know that you kind of kept up with the material, and this is where you're going to post your links to your project. So you'll be making a SLNova, you'll make a flower turtle, you're going to remix the bumper turtle, you're going to do a colliding turtle and an epidemic. So we end module 1 with an epidemic model. And so those will all go into your portfolio, and we'll see how that's going and help you with whatever we can. And then next week is more of a reflection of like, how would you bring this to your students? So you're right now being a student and moving through this material fairly quickly. So next week is just a little bit slower, more reflective. And then the week after that, you choose an Earth, Life, or Physical Science module to explore. So there's an ecosystem model, there is a hydrology model, which is the one that you kind of previewed today with the water pump. There's also a climate change one, greenhouse gases, and then those are both considered earth science. And then the chemistry, physical science one is a chemical reactions model. And so these are all examples of complex adaptive systems that have many agents moving around and interacting. They have behaviors that are, we program them, but they actually are, you know, ultimately in nature don't have, you know, a leader necessarily that's moving through. And so we like to kind of base everything on complex adaptive systems because we feel that that's another important topic for kids to kind of hear. Maybe they don't become experts in it, but at least they're starting to hear that language because that's really a 21st century science that's really becoming more and more important. And also we're affiliated with the Santa Fe Institute, which is one of the institutes that they started in the 80s, and they are all about complex systems and complexity science. So that's another thing. All right. So I'm going to leave it open to questions. I'll help, you know, you can share your screen. I can look at your model, or you could ask verbal questions like, what am I doing? Or how does this make sense? And so just for the next 20 minutes, it's up to you what you want to get out of this. Or, you know, if there's nothing else, we'll just end a little early. So let's see, I have a question. There's a question in the chat about anyone from Georgia, the Georgia Partnership. Oh, are we supposed to have one module finished before New Orleans? So those of you that are participating as CS and Science new facilitators, so there is, yes, we'd like you to have module 1 as well as the other module, Earth, Life, or Physical Science, finished before we meet May 20th. We're there to help. You know, I know it's a busy time for people, not ideal, but this is the sort of the parameters that we have. And so if you are joining us as a new CS and Science facilitator, you have the hardest deadline, which is May 20th. So, but others of you, if you're not meeting us in New Orleans, it's really just a soft deadline to complete by the end of May, and we will, you know, take a look at your portfolios, and you'll get a certificate from us for your completion. But that is we have suggested sort of like at this time you're in module 1, and then starting on Monday you're going to start teaching module 1. Those are soft deadlines. The hard deadline for the CS and Science new facilitators is May 20th, and then for everyone else it's the end of May. Anything else? Let's see. So there's some. So if you're halfway through your module, will you get feedback? We are going to try and take a look at the portfolios. We can't guarantee it. But if you have questions, if there's specific things, then that alerts us to kind of pay attention. And what I would recommend is that you post in the forum to let us know, like, hey, am I on track, or and so on. And then we will definitely answer those questions. But if we don't hear from you, we're going to assume you're okay. So, what is a CS and Science Facilitator? So, Computer Science and Science Facilitator. So that is a program through the code.org community. So if you are affiliated with a district or a professional learning program partner, professional learning partner, they reach out to create that I guess, partnership, and then the district or the people in that region determined that they wanted the computer science and science course offering. And so then it's a train-the-trainer model. So we have experience doing CS and Science Project GUTS curriculum around the country, but it's not sustainable for us to fly out and keep going out to the different districts. So what we're doing is a train-the-trainer model. So that's what's happening in New Orleans, and so that's the CS and Science facilitators. They'll be able to bring this back to their community and to train other teachers. Now, all of our materials are they are Creative Commons. They're open for others to use and appropriate. We just have a very sort of we have a philosophy about how our trainings go and how we engage teachers, so that the teachers can then successfully engage their students. Oh, logo, yes. Yeah, logo is, that's the history of our SLNova is from the 70s, early 70s. Seymour Papert at MIT created logo as a tool to teach kids how to code. And so he came up with a philosophy called constructionism, or constructionism, which is a variation of constructivism. And so he wanted to engage students in creating their own knowledge, and he did that through logo. And SLNova is just a couple generations away from that. Logo still exists, but this is the visual programming language with the blocks that snap in. That was released in like 2006, 2007, and yeah, 2006. And it's, you know, to kind of make it a little easier, you don't have to have the perfect typing that you did with the old logo, or a different sort of variation is net logo. So we're all connected through the logo language. And yeah, that's the history of our turtle. Logo plus Scratch equals net logo. No, so Scratch is a totally different platform as far as I know, and that has the visual programming of the blocks that lock in together, and the primary purpose of Scratch is to engage kids in coding and computer science, but it's primarily for gaming and sort of visual artistic reasons. And SLNova continued and built the agent-based modeling capability, but uses that block language, or what's called visual programming language. NetLogo is text-based. It looks like the old logo, and that is a variation of logo that is out of Northwestern University. And NetLogo is also for agent-based modeling, and it has different capabilities than SLNova. It's a little higher capabilities and can do, you know, lots of different stuff. We use it for our high school curriculum, and so we find that we're very successful going from SLNova to the net logo, which is text-based. Sue does a lot of work with that, but yeah, they're not. It's not directly connected to Scratch, as far as I know. All right, so I think that we'll wrap up. And again, really, this is just an opportunity to connect and to encourage you to continue to connect. We will use these as sort of a way for you to ask questions. So every Wednesday will be 7 p.m. and you can share your screen or you can see what others are up to. And on Sundays, so 7 p.m. Mountain. So that's 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. On Sundays, it is 3 p.m. Mountain, so that's 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 p.m. West Pacific. So we want to, the Wednesdays and Sundays are an opportunity for you to ask questions, to connect with the community, and then we might have guests that will talk a little bit about what they're doing, but it won't be for the whole hour. And the announcements that we send out, that will be sent out every Sunday or Monday, we'll have an update as to what's going to be in those, any topics that we're going to cover. All right. Best way to ask questions is in the forum of the technical difficulties, or email is another way to do that. For me, it comes into my email, so that's how I respond. But that forum of the is a great place to post it, because what we'd like to do is be able to, others can see those questions and see if it's already been answered, or they can build on that question that's there. So that's why we use the forum for that. And technical difficulties would probably be the fastest response on a question. All right. Sue, anything you want to add? All right. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for joining us on this journey through computer science and science and Project X. We look forward to kind of connecting with you in the future and be in touch.
Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night.